Hey, good morning. I'm the Fort Worth Playboy, and this is the Fort Worth Playboy Morning Show. It is Tuesday morning, April 16th, 2024, and you are here for the Fort Worth Playboys Morning Show. What do we do here? We talk about, and sometimes when I say we're a team, Bunny and I, we address on our timeline on Twitter and in the show those things that are tactical that refer to game, pickup, relationships, and sex. And those big four, we try to stay in our lane here. And so when you go to our timeline, we fall under the red pill, which is a very large group of subjects, including like MGTOW and men's rights and intersexual dynamics and men's rights movement. So, and game falls under that, along with a couple of other things. But when people come to us, they're looking for improving their abilities and their skills to move a woman from complete stranger to in his bed naked, and all the way to, keeping their 20 or 30-year marriage alive. And Bunny's really good at that part too. That's what we cover here. And so what the morning show allows me to do, we can kind of expand out on some ideas. I can answer your questions. If you do have questions this morning, go to YouTube. If you put it into Twitter, they don't have the capability yet to let me see it. So if you do have questions, put them in the comments section on YouTube, and I'll be able to see it and do my very best to answer it while we're on the broadcast. So I always start off with a maxim. At least I have been for a while here. Let me get my screen up for you. And this one always gets us into all kinds of trouble. There's probably not a maxim that I post. And remember, there's around 200 maxims that Royce, and some, I guess, because Royce stayed up late, repeat themselves. And sometimes we have like maxim number 7, and then we have maxim number 7A and maxim number 7B. But I believe this is the only maxim 15 we have. And it always gets people worked up. And maxim number 15 says, be narcissistic. There is no greater divergence than that between a woman's stated disapproval of male narcissism and the rapidity with which she jumps into bed with a male narcissist. This upsets people, men and women. Guys don't want to, there's a comment in here, and I'll probably pull it up in a second, but a lot of women, you've got to realize, again, what is a classic phrase for every divorced woman that you ever speak to? I was married to a narcissist. He was a narcissist. And the fact is that the more a woman complains about her boyfriends, husbands, a mix of the two, being narcissist, it tells you what she's attracted to. And pretty much every man that, is attractive at some point is going to have some of this in his personality. And it's a key ingredient. Here's another thing is, I will roll this. This is where the guys get all bent out of shape about this. Worst maxim by far. Narcissism isn't arrogance or confidence or even being a jerk sometimes. It's a deep-seated lack of confidence in disgust women. And nothing could be further from the truth. Narcissism is a personality trait. And the big three, what we call the dark triad, there's 3 personality traits that players, seducers, natural Casanovas have. And they score high on narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. And with narcissism, it's not necessarily self-confidence, it's self-centeredness. So, it's not a lack of confidence. In fact, we'll cover this a little bit later this morning, like irrational self-confidence drops women's panties. That, along with narcissism, is a 1-2 punch that to describe it, narcissism comes from inside. It's a selfishness or a self-centeredness that a man will have. And then the irrational self-confidence is the outward actions and the mental state that he has. And I hope that makes sense to you. And this gentleman should know better. The love maker should know better that women, love confidence. So why would they, a deep-seated lack of confidence in disgust women? It doesn't make any sense. Narcissism is self-centeredness, and you won't find narcissism without confidence. You just have to accept one comes with the other. Not all self-confidence has narcissism, but all narcissists will have self-confidence. It is being a jerk. It's part of it. So that's the real deal. And I'll read out the way Chateau approaches it. Is narcissism is an egotistical preoccupation with self. Because of all their experience with maintaining their self-image, men who score high for narcissism will often appear charming, but their narcissism will later lead to extreme difficulty in developing close relationships. So generally, the higher on that scale that you score, and it's a personality test, you can take this for yourself, the harder it is to maintain long-term relationships. Your attractiveness initially over time, and I think as the score goes up, it's harder to maintain longer out there. And then Chateau says narcissistic men will be better at building an attractive identity, crafting an alluring image, dressing themselves for maximum impact, and comporting themselves with the utmost self-regard. Women love all these characteristics in men, even if these traits are not societally beneficial in numbers exceeding a tiny percentage of men. A man who is full of himself is a man who is full of a woman's love. And this is accurate. Guys that are self-centered, somewhat selfish, and they are their point of origin are attractive to women. These things can hurt them down the road, but as far as initial attraction, it's about an 8 or a 9 out of 10. So you have to accept that. And that's just part of what this is. But a key of being attractive is having some narcissistic personality traits. And you can fake it till you make it. And you just, as we always say, the more, if you sit down with a girl, again, they're going to tell you what they like. As some of these guys say, they always out themselves. If they say, every guy I date ends up in jail. Every guy I date is an alcoholic. She's telling you what she's attracted to because that's all she dates. She dates alcoholics. She loves the excitement, the ups and downs, the roller coaster. And so just know when she's telling you what she doesn't like or what she's always dealt with and she doesn't want to deal with it anymore, it tells you what you're going to have to at least show on the surface to be attractive to her. So maxim number 15, be narcissistic. There is no greater divergence than that between a woman's stated disapproval of male narcissism and the rapidity which she jumps into bed with a male narcissist. And that's the real deal. And the more you cultivate this and the more you see it in action, the more you will become a true believer that, again, there's really no question that it's a defining personality trait hardwired into seducers. And that's just the way it is. And along with two other primary traits. And that's just the way it is. Some people, it's just like being a natural at sports. They're going to have, better eye-hand coordination, more muscle, just the right genetics. And narcissism is a genetic component of being attractive and a seducer and, just being attractive to the opposite sex. So Let's get to the next one. I think I beat that one to death. It took 10 minutes almost to the point. And some of the posts from yesterday that I didn't cover, this could get ugly. Let's see if I can find it. Probably not what you're here for, which is to watch me scroll through this timeline. Oh, good. Good. That wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Game principle, irrational self-confidence. And this one, irrational self-confidence or overconfidence, is the heart of game. If narcissism is a primary personality component, like it's hardwired within, irrational self-confidence is something that can actually be developed. It's something that you can fake it till you make it. So the game principle is irrational self-confidence. No matter what your station in life is, stride through the world without apology or excuse. It does not matter if objectively you are not the best man a woman can get. What matters is that you think and act like you are. And that is the real deal. You can fake this and make it. You don't have to. And it's like I always tell guys, she can't read your mind. So if you're not confident, it doesn't matter. You can fake the confidence. You can carry yourself better. And I like how he says, stride through the world, because the first thing people see when you enter a room is your posture, how you hold yourself. Do you walk upright? Are you slouched? Do you look confident? And that's where game, that body image and that posture kicks it off. We do so much more, with our appearance as far as how we carry ourselves that conveys our inner state than most people realize. So you have to focus in from the very beginning, improving your posture, upright stance. And I put a number of Twitter posts on here on sitting like an alpha, standing like an alpha, walking like an alpha. And all of them are very defined characteristics. And you can teach yourself to do these things. But no matter where you're at, carrying yourself well, speaking with confidence, practicing, getting in front of more women. That's why I always tell guys, say hi to every attractive woman you see. That way, when it counts, you'll become more relaxed about it. And again, another principle that helps with this projecting an irrational self-confidence is what we call less is more. When it comes to game, because men are prone to action. Guys feel better when they're taking action towards their goals. But the thing is, with seduction and with moving women from strangers to in your bed, they need time to process things. They need time away from you. They need to be able to think about you. They need to be able to fantasize, and they will if they have a couple pieces of information about the future. So less is more. And that's why we always encourage guys to text a little bit less, use fewer words, move a little bit slower, more self-assured, again, more confident, and just let things happen a little bit more. And I mean knocking it back by a third. And you'll probably hit your contact or your activity or your action just right. And that's one of those things where less is more. And every guy that kicks this in, even like with texting, like we text like an alpha, you use fewer words, you don't use any punctuation. Again, you're doing less, no emoticons. Less is more. You see an instantaneous change in reaction to how you're texting and how women respond to you when you're projecting less neediness, nervousness, less that they can read. It creates more of a mystery. So it all works together with having that irrational self-confidence. And like I always say, like overconfidence and irrational self-confidence, which are one and the same, is the heart of game. You deliver a line, the way you carry yourself, the way you say hi to people. We always say, be the fun guy. You have to come with some energy and some interest in others again, and it conveys a confidence in self, which is, if you have some, you don't realize how it's lacking in most people. Their concerns and their doubts and their failures are what's at the forefront of their mind, not how damn good their day's going to be and how much they bring to the table. So if you can cultivate one characteristic, it's focusing on irrational self-confidence, and other things will fall into place and you'll be a more attractive man. And again, these are things that are all in almost all of my books. I always try to touch irrational self-confidence because it falls under everything, including, how to be an asshole, the best of Chateau Artiste 1, 2, and 3. Every book, including Basic Training, is going to touch on irrational self-confidence. It's such a core principle of game. So and I always like this one where she's like, you must be retarded if you think we're fucking. So you have to have that irrational self-confidence, and it's addictive, and it tends to spread too. If you're confident, other people start having confidence around you. They have confidence in you. And I wanted to make sure to touch on that one. This is a good, and this was from yesterday, the driving test. And I got this from a video that's on YouTube, and it's a professional driver. I think it was like Italian. I mean, handsome guy, sharp, like a world-renowned professional driver. Europe driving or, racing is a much bigger thing than it is here in the US. And, everybody was making, in the comments section, this man's like a legend. He's like a Mario Andretti, but even more, pronounced in his country of origin. And they're on a closed track, and they have a performance car, and he's got his wife with him. And she is freaking the fuck out. She doesn't really trust, the man's a professional, but she doesn't trust his driving. She says, slow down, slow down. She's hanging onto the roll cage. She's freaking out. She's like, there's no confidence in his abilities, even though he's a professional race car driver and probably the top 1% drivers on earth. So it conveys a sense of lack of confidence in his abilities, and just something was off. And even other people that aren't, coaches or know anything about game, they recognize that something was incongruent with her behavior. And so, you never know what goes on between. Maybe he doesn't take the trash out, so she doesn't trust him. Maybe he doesn't, help her around the house, or, he was racing when she thought he should be home on the weekends. Who knows where the break happened, but wherever it was, she's not confident in her husband, who is a better driver and, in better control than, 99% of the population. But the driving test is this: if she doesn't trust your driving, grabs the door handle, stomps her foot on an imaginary brake, constantly points out hazards, tells you how to drive, she does not trust your ability to make decisions, I say get rid of her. Sometimes it's better to call her out on it. You just stop. You go, you got to stop. I'm driving. Just call her out on it. But I think I wrote this. Get rid of her. She'll always be a massive pain in your ass. And yes, it's easier said than done. This is one of those things that, if this is what you're saying at the beginning of the relationship, or, when she's around you, it may be how she's wired, and you don't want that around you either. She's probably seen her mother freaking out when her dad drives, when the last thing you want is a woman driving. So no, you can either treat it two ways. It's a symptom of a lack of confidence in you, or it's a shit test. And the two things you do with shit tests, which is ignore or agree and amplify. And either way you go, you're going to counter it. But just know that it's an indicator of trouble ahead. It's kind of like, you know, rocks fall here or slow down. You know, just know when she's doing this unconscious stuff that it's a lack of trust in you and your ability. And yes, you're going to hear some people that are, they'll, every exception proves a rule when it comes to game. You know, she's been in an accident before, so she's a little bit more high strung. Again, it's the exception and it proves a rule that the driving test is if she doesn't trust your driving, grabs the door handle, stomps her foot on an imaginary brake, constantly points out hazards, tells you how to drive. She does not trust your ability to make decisions. Get rid of her. She will always be a massive pain in your ass. And again, if in the beginning you're seeing stuff like this, it's not going to get any better. And it's funny because even confirmed players who have a history of success with women, you know, seducing, medium relationships, running rotations, long-term relationships, marriage, they will inevitably go, I knew I shouldn't do this, but I did it anyway. And it bit me in the ass. And, you know, I do consults, and most of the people that reach out to me for consults are amazingly successful men who are successful in life and with women, but they're running into this one hiccup or a speed bump or this one girl that's throwing them off. And inevitably, at some point in the first conversation, it will be, I knew I shouldn't do this, but I did it anyway, and it bit me in the ass. So you can know that if you are starting to date a girl and she's stomping that foot, she's telling you which way to turn, she's bossing you around while you're driving, and you ignore it, it's going to bite you in the ass eventually. So just know that that's the real deal. And when it does, you can go, damn, Fourth Playboy told me this shit's going to happen. I'll be damned. It did happen. Here's the real deal. Tease girls. If you're a super serious guy, you're an engineer. You expect to be taken. You're a serious guy. They're out there. I've always been able to get things accomplished and have a good time and relax a little bit, at least mentally. I would not say I'm, you know, a low neuroticism guy. You know, I get keyed up, and I would say that I have an intense demeanor, especially when it comes to building businesses, my own personal life. But you have to be able to mess with girls. You have to lighten up. Girls, if they're a CEO, a litigation, they're a trial attorney, they're a housewife, they take care of kids. It doesn't matter. They all just want to have fun. So if you can bring the fun and you can tease them and keep it lighthearted, they're going to like being around you. Girls hate to be taken seriously, and they'll test you. They'll throw things up in front of you. They'll give you shit tests. If you take it seriously, you'll fail. So always be fucking with your girl. Not necessarily like her mom's in the hospital. Use a little common sense here, which isn't that common. But, you know, there's certain times not to. There's always this autistic thread of men that are in our little world. But again, turn the lights off when she's still in the room. You're walking out of the room, just turn the light off. Turn the cold on when she's in the shower. This is one of my favorites. Take a pic of her on the toilet, and they will, especially, you know, girls have all kinds of, like, you know, weird mental habits. Like they can't go to the bathroom. Like if there's anybody within 3 miles, you know, awake or moving or that sort of thing, you know, and if you get a picture of them sitting on the toilet, they're going to laugh. They're going to lose their mind. Again, adjust these, but you can use them, you know. When she's dressing, my God, why do you always wear granny panties? Call her out on small items, nothing that, you know, you can't say, my God, you're 40 pounds overweight. When are you going to fix that? And close the door in front of her. Or, I know this sounds stupid. See, all this stuff is funny and fun and kind of dumb. And if you're a really serious guy, you're probably going to start losing faith in me. But like anytime I'm at the front door and it's Bunny and I'll open the door and then try to quickly get in the door before she can, and then close the door. That it's just stupid shit. But it keeps it lively because life is hard enough. I mean, we have 2, 3, 4, I think 5 businesses between the two of us, and nothing works some days. And just stupid shit keeps the levity and keeps things lighthearted. Let me see what the questions are. There's always something. You never know. I'm always nervous about reading questions because I'm like, sometimes I can use it. Okay. Guy wants to gain 25 pounds. How does that affect? Again, that's Ren. There's so many like Ox, and there's so many better, what would you say, sources for this. I mean, especially for MMA guys, than me right now. I'm good at like, you got to remember, like, who do I work with? And I know I've been bodybuilding since I was like in the 80s, for over 40 years. But we work with like your parents or your girlfriend. Our population is just normal, everyday people that want to be, fit enough to go on vacation and not be completely exhausted. I know, and to us, everybody works out when in fact, like no one exercises. If very few people actually lift weights, and even smaller, your MMA community is like the head of a pin. It's almost no one does it. To us, everyone does it. But in the bigger picture, no one does it. So I'm not your best, but I do appreciate the question. It's not my specialty, and I would not want to give you inaccurate or bad information. Kind of like I wouldn't, I let Bunny deal with more of the like hardcore. We've been married 20 years, I can back her up on some of this stuff, but I try to stay out of the long-term stuff. So there will be mobility issues, but there are guys that can get you where you need to be, because guys want to like fight at heavier weights. But there's better sources than I am, and I appreciate your question. Again, girls hate to be taken seriously. Turn the lights off when she's still in the room. Turn the cold on when she's in the shower. Take a pic of her on the toilet. You know your limits and your girl's limits. If it's completely out of character, it would freak her out. That's your call. And I'm not trying to get you. And if this is not your personality, but you would like to interject, just try it out. Just small things. Just other things. And with guys that are super serious, we always recommend like watching comedy shows, going to a comedy show. Worst case scenario, if you're really uptight and can't talk off the cuff, like improvisational skills, even like an acting class where you improvise, helps because you start learning to be imaginative while on your feet. And a lot of this stupid stuff I learned working the door in a comedy club from like 19 to 21. And so it was right when, your verbal skills are really developing. And every night I was around these comedians who are extremely mentally fast, and they dealt with everybody, and they take questions, and they shoot the breeze, and I'm not nearly as fast as I was then. But these are things that can help you kind of lighten up a little bit, round out your personality, and it makes you more attractive, and you'll probably enjoy dealing with girls a little bit better if you have more skills in your pocket to pull from. Again, I hope this helps you today. Narcissism, self-confidence, be the fun guy. There's no downside to any of this stuff. Find out what works best for you, put it into your repertoire, and I hope you guys have a great day. Appreciate the questions, and I hope to speak to you guys later.